after independence, all the refugees who came and they were living on the streets, and I was very aware of little kids on the street, had very little food or clothing. The parents were begging every night. Beggars would come to the door asking for food. And I remember my father we would just sit down to eat, and my father would take his plate and go and give it to somebody who was crying at the door. So from the very childhood, I was very aware of that we were not rich, but we were well off. And there were all these other people who had nothing. And my parents were very generous with people who didn't have much. So that was kind of in my head that when I grew up, I was going to try and help people who are the have-nots. And when I was then I went to a college, and that college was originally started a Muslim college. I remember my sister, when she went to college, she went by bus, and the college bus had curtains, because most of the girls who went to that college, they were Muslims, and their faces couldn't be seen through the curtain in the bus. But by the time I went to the same college, it all changed. But I did have a couple of good friends who were Muslims, and they were always coming to our house. I was going to their houses. So after independence, in our neighborhood, we felt no animosity between Muslims and Christians. Only Muslims and Hindus, but the only problem was the refugees on the street. And when I was in college, I had already decided that I was going to be a social worker. So after I graduated from college, I got a scholarship to go to Delhi University to study social work and psychology. And during my college days, we had to do field work, and I didn't speak any Hindi, so it was a big hindrance in my getting connected with the people I was supposed to work with. But after I graduated from the university with a master's degree, I worked at the YWCA for 3 years because I had a contract with them. They gave me the scholarship to go to Delhi to go to the university. And during those 3 years, I worked in the villages with very, very poor people. I ran the whole program. We had a school for little children, maternity home for the village women to come deliver their babies. We also had outdoor clinics every Friday morning, and I was going to the villages. I lived in the village and went to the villages talking to the people about birth control, which was then not heard of. So I wasn't very liked by the village men. At the same time, the women loved me, and because I was always helping them out, doing things for them, and running the whole project very well. And then I got a huge grant from the government to build a new real building to run all these programs, because before that we had mud hut with straw thatched roof. I remember the first night I was staying there was a snake in the bathroom, and I screamed so hard the whole village came running to see what was going on. And that germ in my heart that someday I was going to do something to change not the world, but however many people I can change their lives, I will. And so the YWCA had a program in the local prison, and we used to go and try to teach the women to read and write and sew. And at that time, first time I became aware of that there were women in prison who didn't commit any crime, but they were not accepted by their families. The in-laws because they didn't bring enough dowry or didn't have a male child, and they were thrown out of the house, and or they got a certificate from the doctor saying this woman was mentally ill, and there were not too many mental health facilities there, so they were all put in jail. The jail had a department which was called non-criminal lunatic ward, and there were many, many women in that ward that I came across, and it really upset me so much. I tried to then do something to change or get these women out of prison, but there were no place to put them. So I just followed and did what I had to do, teach them, but I never forgot that. And after my 3 years at the Y was finished, I got another scholarship to go to graduate school abroad. The first year was in University of Toronto. I already had a master's, so I got another master's within a year in Toronto, and then came to the United States and worked at an agency called Family Service. But and then I got married and settled in the East Coast in New Haven. And I worked in the ghettos with the black people, drug addicts, welfare patients, not only the black but Puerto Ricans, because in the New Haven area there were a lot of Puerto Ricans. And my having a brown face, a lot of times the welfare workers or health workers, they assumed I was the applicant when I was taking somebody with me and giving me a hard time. But I just went to the head of the welfare and told them that from my own experience, how they were treating me, I could see people who are in need and go for treatment or welfare checks, how they are treated. And I named names of the workers who were giving me a hard time, and some of them were removed from their position. So I've always considered myself flag-bearing, how should I say it? Not philanthropist, I didn't have any money to give up, but my time and energy and wanting to help, especially women and children. And many years later, I kept going back to Calcutta, coming back, and I felt nothing had changed. That's when I decided that I've always said I want to do something, but didn't really actively did anything after living here. So one fine morning I decided if I don't do anything now, I don't think I ever do anything to improve women's life, and that's how Juthica was born. I talked to friends and they all decided here, they were not Indian friends, American friends, that they would help me if I wanted to start something. And then Juthica came to exist, and I devoted a lot of my time and then money, energy in getting something going. So Juthica was established 20 years ago, and it's still going. And I started with one project with a halfway house for women who were getting out of the jail, but got a lot of people motivated in changing the law. And not only my little project, but other women's organizations. And then the law changed, and the non-criminal lunatic ward was abolished. So, but we still have the halfway house, and now we're taking women from mental health centers, mental hospitals, and women who are roaming around the street, don't know where they lived or where they came from, trying to find their families and take them back to their families. And women who can't go anyplace, train them to be self-sufficient. And since then, we have taken on 4 other projects, all related to women and children.
Hello.